Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I actually wanted to review this really nice ink which I've been using I think for the past 2 years, and this ink is quite affordable and very easily found in India. Though fountain pens are quite rare, but since Inktober was has ended, I just thought I should review this because India ink is something which everyone uses, and I think this is the one which is called India ink. It's a dye based ink, and I think this one comes in two more colors, that is blue and red. And I just thought it would be a perfect time to review this ink because I have been liking the use of, like, I am liking different dry brushing techniques, and I just thought I should review this because it's you can create really interesting dry brush patterns and textures using just a simple ink. And yeah, this is the most affordable ink you can get on the market, be it anywhere. This brand is like just amazing, and yeah, very commonly found in my country, India. So yeah, let's move on with the review. So the ink bottle actually comes inside this cardboard box, and this is how the cardboard box looks. And I prefer keeping the bottle inside this box because it's quite like you won't mess up the your working area. So yeah, the quantity is 60 ml and the price is 18 rupees. That would come around some cents in US dollar. And I think this is one of the most affordable Inktober art supply you can get on the market. And yeah, that's the best part about this. And yeah, let's move on with the. So as you can see, this is how the glass bottle looks, and there you can see the empty part of the bottle and from where the ink is. So just be careful while opening up the cap because the cap might like the ink might ruin your hands. So yeah, just be careful with that. And I have spread out a cloth so that my working area doesn't get messed up. And the palette is a metallic one. So here the palette which I'm using is a metallic palette, and it's not actually a palette, it's a plate. And I prefer this one for inks because these are washable, and the dropper or the pipette which I'm showing you is something which I found lying around in my house. You can get these very easily in any hardware store or the store where you find plumbing material, where they sell pipes and all that. And yeah, it's very easily available, so just don't worry. And it's very cheap. Like the pipettes are very this one is a plastic pipette. And yeah, just remember to use pipette for pouring your inks because it can become messy without this pipette or dropper. So the sketchbook which I'll be using is a Navneet sketchbook, and it's a very thin one, and I don't think there's a GSM mentioned of this paper, or the thickness is mentioned, just the size is mentioned, and it's spiral bound. I think the paper is 30 or 80 GSM or maybe 100. I'm not sure. So these are the brushes which I'll be using: a water brush with medium tip, and yeah, water brush, and the other one is a flat brush. And I found this brush lying around in my house, and it's a number 10 super golden artist brush. If you want to get these broad brushes, these will also be available in paint stores, like the places where you get house painting supplies. And yeah, just hardware stores where you get paints. So yeah, here you can see I've dried, like I've dipped this brush in a little bit of water. I'm wiping out of the excess with my finger so that there's some spiked up tips so that I can create different textures with this brush. So yeah, let's move on. So as you can see, I am taking a little bit of color, and you can see how, like, how randomly, like, the ink has soaked up into the brush. You can see how much the ink have climbed up on the brush. So you can wipe off the excess either on the plate or a paper towel, and you can see how wonderful the textures are. And I really like using these textures for creating bushy areas or places where I want to draw a tiger peeking through a bush, you can create bushes and tall grasses using this texture. And yeah, using a white brush for creating these sort of spiky textures is really helpful for covering a broad canvas. And yeah, if you use this brush in a like a slanting way, you can create straight wiggly lines. And yeah, it's really helpful for creating like this bark texture or the tree trunk. You can see I am creating here. I like creating these sort of textures on trees, and it's really helpful, especially if you dry up the brush and then pick up ink and then go there and just lightly dabbing on the texture onto the branches. And yeah, you can see really amazing lines, like just by swiping the brush over the branches, like the tree trunk, you can create the trunk of the tree. And I think it's a really amazing texture you can get with a flat brush. So let me just wipe off the brush and show you some other techniques which I like using with brushes. So here I've cleaned up my brush and I'm taking a lot of ink into this brush. Not much, but you can create this sort of flat black line or black texture wherever you want to. And you can see how dark the color is, and then you can create sort of a gradient form. It's really helpful for creating even gradient colors. And then I'm taking a different brush, a clean brush, and I'm like fading out the color for creating this gradient effect. And this sort of gradient effect can be used for making smokes, skylines. If you sprinkle a little bit of salt over it when the surface is wet, you can get a really nice separation wherever you place salt particles. And yeah, you can see you can create broad lines and thin lines using just the flat brush. And this sort of technique is really helpful, especially when you want to do calligraphy and hand lettering or brush lettering. It's really helpful. And you can see how I've created this B, and then moving on with D. And it's just really amazing. You just have to play along with the colors. And I just like wasting one page to see what sort of textures I can get with this, with any ink or any new art supply which I get. And let me just show you the other brush which I have, like the round brush. And here you can see I have dipped it in color, and you can see that rough texture you get, like those empty areas in between brush strokes. Those are really helpful for creating textures in on the skin of the animal. And here I'm just randomly uh, just playing around with the color, and you can see how rough the edges are. And these sort of rough edges are really helpful if you want to get that furry texture in bears and landscape areas, and even in areas where you want to create cyclone and torpedoes. And I just dried up the brush using my hand and fingers, and then I am taking a little bit of ink. And let me just show you. I'll be using the other side of the brush, uh, and you can see how nice textures it creates. And it's all about experimenting with the new art supply you have. And I really like just wasting one page for creating textures, because that really helps me into knowing the kind of art supply it is and getting myself familiarized with the simplest of art supply which I have. So yeah, that is one advice which I'll give anyone. So yeah.
Missing someone. Missing someone. Missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart. How much you listen, and you listen, and you listen, and you listen, and you did it right from the start. And you did it right from the start. Missing someone is as normal. Missing someone and missing someone is as normal. Missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart. Missing someone. I am sad and so low. I am sad and so low. Missing someone. Missing someone. Missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart. How much you listen, and you listen, and you listen, and you listen, and you did it right from the start. And you did it right from the start. Missing someone is as normal. Missing someone Missing someone, missing someone, missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart. How much you miss it, and you deserve, and you deserve, and you deserve, and you did it right from the start. And you did it right from the start. Missing someone is as normal. Missing someone, and missing someone is as normal. Missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart. Missing someone. Normal. I am sad and so down. I am sad and so down. Missing someone, missing someone, missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart. How much you miss it, and you deserve, and you deserve, and you deserve, and you did it right from the start. And you did it right from the start. Missing someone is as normal. Missing someone, and missing someone is as normal. Missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart. Missing someone. Normal. I am sad and so down. I am sad and so down. Missing someone, missing someone, missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart. How much you miss her, and you deserve, and you deserve, and you deserve, and you did it right from the start. And you did it right from the
So that is my final piece, and I think I've used the dry brush techniques really well with this piece. It's a black and white wobbler, and I really like the textures which I've created using dry brushes and the normal brushes. So that was my final piece, and I think I really like the way it has turned out. And yeah, thank you guys for subscribing, and thank you for showing your support. I do have a shop for my like art prints, so do check it out. It's mentioned in the link below.